Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome. Today I want to talk about perhaps one of the most well-known board games ever besides chess or checkers, and that is Monopoly. Now, Monopoly needs no introduction. Quite possibly the most infamous board game ever created, it has been adapted into hundreds of versions that reference almost anything we can think of. TV shows, sports teams, video games, you name it, more likely it's been adapted. Even suburban towns like Ackworth, Georgia have been adapted. Play as Ackworthian cultural icons such as a creepy smile, pretzel, or gym shoe, and buy your own piece of the Lake City with properties such as historic downtown Ackworth and Lake Allatoona. Available at an Ackworth Walmart near you. Naturally, this has led to many video games, most of which only let you play the board game on your platform of choice. But of all these releases, one really sticks out among them, and that is Monopoly Tycoon. Released in 2001 for the PC, Monopoly Tycoon was developed by Deep Red Games and published by Infogrames. Monopoly Tycoon takes the Monopoly name and turns it into a tycoon game by letting you lease properties and open residential and commercial outlets to earn revenue. Unlike most other Monopoly games, the only thing that makes this game like Monopoly are the references, like the properties and characters. With that being said, there is no turn-based element here. Players can square off against each other either online or against computer opponents in real time to meet a certain objective, such as having the richest empire and reaching a certain daily profit. How you complete these objectives may vary. Build many small businesses? That could work. Lease all the utilities and/or railroads? That could work too. All you really need is some business savvy, and you too can be a seasoned capitalist that can crush your meager opponents with the power of money. This was another game I played during my younger days as a business sim connoisseur, along with others like Sid Meier's Sim Golf, Roller Coaster Tycoon, and Lemonade Tycoon. For a long time, this was the only Monopoly Tycoon game ever released, until a mobile Monopoly Tycoon game released a few years ago. Which is nice, I guess, but the only thing is that it plays more like a, well, mobile game. You know, with free-to-play elements like gacha and leveling up. The game's also very different even though there's city building, and while I can't say it's not good, it's definitely not the same. Anyway, grab yourself a nice beverage, as we're about to explore the world that is Monopoly Tycoon. Before the game loads, we see our cast of personified tokens with Deep Red's logo looming over them. Nothing particularly appealing, but then we see a grand shot facing a statue of Mr. Monopoly himself, Rich Uncle Pennybags. Then there was a shot that quickly pans over across the ocean before reaching the mainland. The camera rises above a skyscraper and shows dynamic shots of the city below. Finally, the Monopoly Tycoon logo fades in with the caption, "Dream it, build it, own it." And all the copyright junk. We get to the menu. Here we can create a username to track our game. There are detailed yet simple tutorials that tell you the ins and outs of the gameplay. Single player features a campaign with 16 missions that test your abilities as a business tycoon. There is a skirmish mode that lets you play with several win conditions. Then there are custom scenarios. The game has some already and has specific situations that put your business aptitude to the test. What we'll focus on will be the single player campaign. I remember always playing as Top Hat and just playing endless mode, building my businesses and watching my opponents build theirs, and seeing the world develop throughout the in-game years. One thing I don't think I did, though, was complete the game's scenarios, even on easy. Well, this time, I return as an able-minded adult with one objective in mind: get every gold trophy in the campaign, which meant beating them on hard. Will I cash in? Or will I go bankrupt? Let's find out. Shall we? In our list of scenarios, we have only one mission available. Starting out. In this mission, our only goal is to make 100 sales of any commodity. The description gives us tips on how to complete this, but as someone who has taken freshman economics in college, I feel more than equipped to tackle this daunting objective. Each mission lets us select a character named after their respective token. We have Face Dick Dastardly, Boris Johnson, a librarian, the TF2 soldier's dad, an Italian magician, Horse Chan, Marie Barone, Captain Haddock, empty like my soul, and a bottle fairy. For the first mission, I pick race car to give me that speed buff to complete this mission as fast as possible. When we begin, there is a view of the city along with our stats at the bottom left and a map to the bottom right. We click to see the map layout that shows us where lots, buildings, and citizens are. Clicking on each lot lets us see various figures, such as the population breakdown. Clicking on the clipboard shows flashing squares that tell us where people live. Clicking on a lot with people tells us what the tenants want. The more people living there, the more desirable the location. On Kentucky Avenue, the highest demand commodity is meals. I click on the crane and build a diner that closes at the late hour of 5 p.m. Clicking and dragging shows how big the business will be and affects the stock. Here we can see a 2-story, 2x3 building holds 36 meals. What meal? Pancakes. Why pancakes? I don't know. But one thing I do know is that people from all over the city will flock to my diner and eat the most delicious pancakes they've ever had. With my first business opened, I admired the picture of maple syrup and pancakes on the roof and the sign with diner in all caps. I could take pride in saying I had the best pancakes in the city with no other businesses. I waited for the customers to come pouring in, and that they did. Before I knew it, I sold 31 pancake meals before 5 p.m. With almost a third of my goal reached, I opened a clothing store on Atlantic Avenue and waited for more business. As I sat there, I wondered why nobody was coming. Then I remember. Wait, it's nighttime, you idiot. During the evening, nighttime businesses like cinemas and bars open. I build a theater for people to come watch plays at night. I sift through the many styles and select one that looked theater-y and could draw people in. Although I doubt building styles affect the game besides aesthetics, it is nice that they gave us a choice. People then flock to see Shakespeare's A Midsummer Night's Dream and enter the left part of the building, even though there are 2 giant doors in the middle. But, gaming logic. With the day's end, I get 55 sales, more than half my quota. I jump to Port Jefferson and build another clothing store and a newsstand so that the townspeople could know what the hell is going on. I speed time up, and at 5:50, I hear this sound. This unironically made me jump when I first heard it, coincidentally because it preludes your impending bill payments. At 6 a.m., all of your expenses from your utilities, rent, and restocks are debited. When starting out, it's not uncommon to be in the red the next morning if you spend too much. The game will tell you not to spend too much if this happens, but if you spend smartly, your business sales will get you back out of debt and then some. If you're in the red after midnight, you'll be warned that you'll be ejected if you're still in the red by next midnight. And if that happens, it's game over, and everything you own will go to the city. After day 2 starts, I quickly accrue the rest of my sales and am declared the winner. A statue is erected in my honor, while hundreds of thousands of fireworks are rapidly launched to celebrate my triumphant victory, as I brought capitalism to this city, much like Facade did for Tazmily Village. Early missions in this campaign seem to serve more as trials to make sure that you understand the game, while they give you tips on how to complete the missions. The second mission is like the first, except now we need to build an apartment. For the most part, apartments won't be the lifeblood of your empire, but if there are no apartments, then building one is necessary to gain customers. Building an apartment as big as you can reasonably afford so that you have money left over to create businesses is ideal, for you see, more tenants equals more business. If you own an apartment, you gain rent for your coffers. I easily complete Mission 2 and move on to Mission 3. This time we have competition with Iron up against us. Here, the goal is to be the first to get 200 sales. With the urgency of having competition, I don't dawdle in creating in-demand stores. Supply and demand is the name of the game here, and understanding it is crucial to success. I notice that certain items will usually sell better than others. For example, food stores like butcheries and bakeries will likely sell out faster, while a more expensive place like a jewelry store won't. Which makes sense since everybody wants bread. right?
Bread! 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 Bread!
This is also where your stock factors. If you sell out in the middle of the afternoon, then your store is finished for the day until it restocks. In most cases, it's best to have your stuff priced to where it won't sell out right away, but not too cheap to where you won't make profit or you might need to change or sell off the business. Thankfully, it doesn't get that complicated, as all I need to do is get 200 sales before my opponent, which I get. Mission 4 is where it gets trickier, and where I start having trouble. This time, we're tasked with getting 3,000 daily profit. The game tips us on leasing blocks through auctions, and if we own the lease, then we won't have to pay land rent. Here we see Battleship immediately leases Boardwalk, one half of the most lucrative block, if you can afford to build on it, that is. Like the board game, building and rent cost is determined by the block's prestige. It takes money to make money, and whoo boy does it apply here. Building on high prestige properties attracts high income consumers who prefer to shop at businesses whose buildings are high quality. As a result, you can make more money since they're willing to pay more for goods and services. This also applies to middle and low income consumers who like to shop at medium and low quality businesses respectively. Anyway, about auctions. Auctions are an integral part of growing your empire and can greatly reduce your daily costs. When a block is leased, a countdown starts to let players scope out the block, and when the timer hits 0, the auction starts. Auctions work as you would expect. You can pull out if the price is too high or bid high to discourage your rivals. You can also pass to keep the price the same, but if other players pass or pull out, the last bidder wins. Here I win the auction, which I wasn't sure how it benefited me, since most of the lot had stuff already built. However, as the landlord, you're leased for 25 in-game years, and you're entitled to rent payments for each building on the lot. If you own businesses on it, you won't even need to pay rent. You'll also hold building rights that, until activated, prevents other players from building there. Not only that, you can buy out other players' businesses, but it's usually very costly. Until you get a monopoly. When you lease all lots of the same color, you gain a monopoly, which can be a real game changer. Besides being able to buy businesses at a very reduced cost, hotels can be built and are borderline broken. Tourists who come to the city via the railroads love the nightlife and stay at hotels near the end of the night. You can make thousands overnight from having a huge hotel, which makes building the biggest one you can afford worth it, even if it puts you thousands in debt. Back to the mission. After the auction, there is now a flashing card button. This is your RNG maker that can give you a boost in cash or lose you money. Some are pleasant, like getting a few extra $100. Others are bad, like giving each opponent 200, which especially sucks if you have 5 other opponents. And others are just plain petty. You've been fined 200 for being in the wrong place at the wrong Oh, you smug son of a... But there are also cards that could really mess up players, like ones that prevent players from making sales on a certain block or flipping a store to your ownership. To be honest, I never really bothered with these unless I had a lot of money to kill. They can help early in the game, but in the late game they really don't factor much if you're in a good spot. During this mission, my first few attempts were duds because I was still learning how to sell things. Throughout the campaign, I made mistakes like not adjusting my prices versus the competition, building or leasing properties when I couldn't afford it and being deadlocked, or not building enough businesses to make money. Here we see the Shoe with No Soul's daily profits skyrocket after 6 PM thanks to all the businesses he built in the white and magenta properties, which easily led Shoe to victory. No fireworks show for Shoe though, because this loss is a tragedy and a blemish upon this great city.
You're a disgrace to the game, Yugi!
Subsequent missions didn't seem particularly unique. Some required having the greatest empire value by a certain year, winning an amount of rosettes to become mayor, having a number of sales first, and so on. The final mission is wealthiest by 2,000, with only one objective: have the richest empire. In this arduous marathon, I pick Wheelbarrow to wheel me to victory. As a bookend for the first mission, no one lives in this place. I build a huge apartment, which helps me with rent income, and then I build businesses. Outlets like jewelry and clothing stores yield a higher value, so I prioritize building those before building food stores like grocers and dairy shops. With an apartment and 4 stores, I sat ahead at nearly 1,000 value, and with a 2-star block, it yields higher value than building on the purple or dark gray blocks. Progress is very slow. Like any good capitalist, I keep building stores that the people wanted as they became available. Nightclubs, bowling alleys, video stores. I made sure that my shopping centers stay hip and up to date. I also gouge customers when I could. Keeping the hive mind intact is essential to my success, even if it means making movies dirt cheap and increasing the price of eggs by a few dollars. As long as I sold out and made profit, I didn't care what they thought. Inflation be damned. By 1975, soon I have a monopoly and amass 2 squares of thriving shops. I build a hotel along with a complimentary souvenir shop. My empire is now approaching 25,000, and I am looking way down on my rivals. One would think that I could just coast toward the new millennium, but something happens to me. In spite of my vast wealth, I feel compelled to keep making more money. It was like a spell overcame me. I fill out the rest of the blocks with new stores. Meanwhile, my rivals just stopped building. It's as if they know they couldn't catch up to me. They do say it's lonely at the top, so lonely that I get bored. As such, I lease the dark gray blocks where Top Hat and Cannon have their centers. With the extra rent, my thirst for additional wealth is still left unquenched. Then, I buy out Top Hat's businesses. Then Cannon's businesses. With the profit of their businesses now injected into my veins, I now have my foot on their necks. They couldn't stop me from getting bigger, 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 and bigger!
Soon I have 6 glorious blue lots, but I am still not satisfied. I must feast on a soul. A Shoe soul. I turn my gaze towards Shoe's empire like a shark with a taste for blood. And then...
Oh. The mission's over. Okay. What was I talking about? Oh, right. With this mission done, I am congratulated and treated to a spectacular fireworks show in my honor. Unfortunately, there is no reward except for bragging that I got every gold trophy in this video, but there is one more mission given. My Mega Metropolis, which is a sandbox mode, except with more money given to help you build the city of your dreams with no opponents to worry about. And that, my friends, is the single-player campaign.
Complete!
I might tackle the custom missions at some point, but for now, I think this is a good spot to leave it at. With Monopoly Tycoon, playing through these missions helped me appreciate how the sales mechanics work. While it wasn't as hard as I thought it would be, it was still fun to come up with ways to complete these missions. Along with the gameplay, simple details like watching the city evolve throughout each decade, from the cars to the roads, and seeing the types of businesses that become available helps with immersion. And if you can get the music working, the soundtrack is also a real banger, with each track really fitting its respective decade to take you back and lock you in. If there's a business sim game that I wish had a re-release on Steam or something, this would absolutely be one of them. Therefore, I would highly recommend checking this out. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to go take aspirin because my head really hurts for some reason. Good lord.